I love habits, rituals, routines, and practices. I think they are beautiful, beautiful ways for you to dedicate some time to be with yourself and to really nourish yourself, to get to know yourself more, to recenter when life feels a little cry cry, which can be quite often, especially as of late. And I think that when we subscribe to somebody else's rules around what that should look like, it can be really, really hurtful and detrimental. Well, hello there, and welcome to another video here. I am so passionate about what we're talking about today, which is how to establish healthy routines, rituals, and practices, and find ones that actually stick and are going to be consistent and sustainable and work for you rather than become another thing that you use to tell yourself that you're a failure, right? So important. Um, if you're new, hi, I'm Chelsea Connors, certified life coach, therapist, speaker, and founder of the Practice membership. And I am on a mission to talk more about emotional well being and establishing ways of living and lifestyle practices that actually help you to feel really, really good and normalize the hard parts of being human and an adult so that we can feel more okay being ourselves. We can show up better. We can be better connected with each other, have more realistic expectations, all the things that I see often contribute to a lot of stress and anxiety if we're not taught how to navigate them. That was a lot really quickly, so hopefully you followed. But I wanted to talk about, again, establishing these healthy habits, practices, rituals, routines. And this is something that's near and dear to my heart because I spent so many years, and I'm not exaggerating there, years of my life trying to find the habits that were going to create a life that I wanted and that would help me feel productive, successful, consistent, whatever I was imagining in my own mind. And for many years, this looked like a lot of rigidity. I tried very hard to fit myself into plans or boxes that other people offered or said, like, this is the way that you do it. This is what your morning routine should look like. This is what your exercise regimen should look like. This is how often you should be doing X, Y, or Z in order for it to be helpful or for you to get good at it or whatever it was. And I would very much experience the on the wagon, off the wagon type of deal where I'd be like, okay, Monday, I'm starting. I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. I'm going to make sure that I exercise every day. I'm going to spend at least an hour on my morning routine and X, Y, and Z. Or I'm going to be sure that I get to a yoga class 4 times a week. Or I'm going to meditate every day for 20 minutes, no matter what's going on in my life. And I just started to create all of these really strict rules for myself. And maybe they'd last for 3 days. And then I'd be like, not hitting the snooze button all morning, every morning. Or life would feel really hard and sitting down to meditate, just like I couldn't do it. And then became something else that I was like, oh, why can't I do these things that it seems like other people can do and are doing? Or why can't I follow this workout routine that this person's doing and she looks this way? And it just for years was so challenging and so hard. And as now a coach and therapist and somebody who has spent so much time sitting with a ton of different human beings, and then also taking into consideration my own personal experiences, I love habits, rituals, routines, and practices. I think they are beautiful, beautiful ways for you to dedicate some time to be with yourself and to really nourish yourself, to get to know yourself more, to recenter when life feels a little cry cry, which can be quite often, especially as of late. And I think that when we subscribe to somebody else's rules around what that should look like, it can be really, really hurtful and detrimental. So, as I talk through this and as I offer ideas or suggestions, my first thought is to remind you to take everything with a grain of salt. I do not know what it is like to be you, to live in your body, to have your relationships, to have your goals and your dreams for your life. So I would encourage you to everything that you're taking in, whether it be this video or other things throughout your life, be filtering it through your own ideas and what you really want for yourself and your life, because nobody else can do that for you and nobody else can really tell you what's right or wrong. So, with that little disclaimer, right? When thinking about establishing healthy routines and rituals that actually stick, I want you to first think about the why behind implementing these things. Like, what is the reason for you wanting to create some practices for yourself? What are you hoping to feel from them? What are you hoping that they'll bring for you, right? And get really, really clear on the purpose. Because if we are engaging in these types of practices and either one, not knowing why, or two, having a superficial why that doesn't actually connect like with your heart and soul and your true well-being, that's understandable that you might find a lot of resistance when it comes to doing those things and supporting yourself there, because you're kind of like, well, why am I working so hard to do this thing? Or I'm working so hard to do this thing, but it makes me feel miserable, or it's not actually leading me towards the life that I want to live, because it's very surfacey purpose and whys that are driving that thing, right? So I want you to take some time and really just think about why you want to implement some practices. Then I want you to identify one or maybe two that we could prioritize, that we could make a little bit more of the focus as you're implementing something new, right? Because a lot of times we try and overhaul so many things at the same time, and it just isn't really sustainable or realistic given what's going on in your life, and also given the fact that you're a human being and there are likely other things that are taking up your time, attention, energy, and love. So identify, okay, if my purpose and my why is X, what are the one or two things that stand out to me that I'd really, really love to become integral into my days and my life and my weeks, right? Then I want you to think about realistically, what could that look like? So, without having to drastically change or overhaul your life, how might these things fit in, right? So, for example, once I started to get more comfortable around the idea of creating my own morning practice, I was not really a morning person at all. Like, I wanted to be for a very, very long time. But the truth is, I wasn't great at sleeping. And that was something I really had to work on for my mental, emotional, physical well being. But my morning practice had to start pretty small. And so there was a time where I tried to force it and I tried to do the like 6 a.m., be like take an hour, whatever. And that didn't work for me when I was starting, right? So I started with like 5 to 10 minutes, and I gave myself 3 journal prompts. And I tried to take 5 to 10 minutes to work through those 3 journal prompts at least 3 days during my typical work week. And that was where I started, right? All that to say, being really flexible and meeting yourself where you're at, giving yourself expectations that are realistic. They may still push you and challenge you, which is beautiful and okay, because we often need to feel at least a little bit of that to see some movement, to see some shifts. But it wasn't to the point where I was then exhausted during my days and I couldn't focus, or I was beating myself up for not waking up every single day and having this elaborate, expansive thing, right? Like, I was able to start small and focus on one thing. And then I could build on that habit over time, right? And that's another thing, is that there's a lot of science that shows that we can build really sound habits on habits that already exist. So if you're thinking about this and you're not sure where to begin or how to start, thinking about what's something you already do really, really regularly without much thought or effort, and tack something on to that already established habit. So, for example, brushing your teeth. Most people brush their teeth at least once a day, right? What type of practice could you kind of tack on to that one that's going to nourish your well being, right? Is it I brush my teeth and then I stretch for 5 minutes? Is it I brush my teeth and then I go for a walk outside? I brush my teeth and then I sit in silence for 2 minutes and just think about my breath and recenter my body, maybe do a little body scan, right? The way that we establish routines, rituals, and practices that are sustainable is by making them work for you, allowing them to fit into your life, building consistency, right? And then also, when we start that way, what we do is we start to teach the mind, oh, I can do this. And we give it some positive reinforcement to continue to go, to move forward, rather than taking on these really, really maybe unhelpful or super rigid or just not working for you types of routines, failing at them or not being able to keep up with them, and then berating yourself because of that, right? Can we see how these approaches feel really, really different? And when the end goal, right, is to feel more supported by yourself, to have a toolbox of practices and tools and techniques that some are integral and just happen in your everyday, where others might be things that you pull from when certain things are happening in your life or you're experiencing certain emotions or whatever it might be, right? We can start to, again, also use that to build more and more self-trust, but we can do so in a really gentle, easeful, compassionate type of way where you meet yourself where you're at and go from there. So, those are some of my thoughts on how to start establishing some really beautiful, nourishing, healthy habits, rituals, practices, routines. I want you to decide what that's going to look like for you and what things sound like they could be a great addition to your days, weeks, and life, and take it from there. If you like this video and there's someone in your world that you know could really, really benefit from implementing some of these practices, but maybe doing it in a different way, send them this video. I would absolutely love if you feel called to share it. And if you're looking for more support on tools, techniques that you can be adding to your toolbox, this month of October in the Practice membership, we are talking all about anxiety and stress and practicing and cultivating more tools, techniques, and practices that you can pull from, that you can start to strengthen different muscles. Find the ones that work for you so that when life brings that up for you, or when things feel really challenging or uncertain or anxiety provoking, you know what to do and you know some things that you can rely on. And I would absolutely love to welcome you into our beautiful community where we have monthly trainings, 2 live calls with me per month where I'm answering your specific questions, a downloadable workbook with all the tools and techniques, and you also get access to all of the trainings that we have done over the past 6 months or so. So if you feel called, tap the link below to check out more about the practice, join us, come into the community, and I will be back here soon sharing more with you about emotional well-being and all of the different facets that happen for all of us in our everyday life that you might benefit from and relate to. And I am just so, so thrilled that you are here. Talk to you soon.